Chapter number 18, Managing Personal Communications. Friends, personal communication refers to channels wherein two or more people communicate directly with each other, including face-to-face interaction or telephonic interaction or communication with the help of email, internet and such other mediums. In this particular chapter, we are going to study that how the different companies are personalizing their marketing communications to have more impact. Here we have four components or the methods of personally communicating to the customers: direct marketing, interactive marketing, word of mouth and personal selling. So let us understand what is direct marketing. Direct marketing is the use of consumer direct channels to reach and deliver the goods and services to customers without using market middlemen. So whenever the company is selling the products or services to the customers with the help of emails, telephones or without using any other intermediary, that is referred as direct marketing. Some of the channels which are used to communicate the customers directly are email, telephone, catalog, internet, response marketing. So all these components we are going to study in detail. Here we have the benefits of direct marketing. The first benefit is 24/7 services are available by the websites and ordering is done quickly. So assuming that the customer is doing the shopping with the help of websites, the shopping can be done from the websites 24/7. That means at any point of time the customer can do the shopping from anywhere in the world. This kind of convenience is not available into the store shopping. Websites are always open for the customers and majority of the products are delivered within 48 hours. Apart from that, the written policy is also available. Then the websites are also promoting slow moving items. So nowadays majority of the stores have dropped the slower moving items because the customer is not purchasing or the demand is less or the preferences have changed. So this has created an opportunity for the direct marketers to promote even these kind of products, and because of that slow movers can also be pushed into the market. The third benefit is more variety. So the direct marketing channels are providing more varieties to the customers in terms of brands, colors, sizes. The next strategy is less visible to the competitors. So here if you compare direct marketing with the mass marketing, then all the strategies which are employed by the direct marketer about the various schemes or offers, so here it is less visible to the competitors. The next is cost effectiveness. So if the company is employing direct marketing channel like telephone or purchasing a database and sending the SMS to the target group of customers or promoting the product with the help of websites, then it is much more cost effective. Then the next is develop personalized offers and messages. So here the company is having the option of developing personalized offers and schemes depending on the past purchase behavior of the customers, and the company is also having the opportunity for doing the cross selling, upselling and recommending the products again based on their past purchase behavior. So these are all the different methods that how the company can customize and personalize the offers and build long term relationship with the customer so that more and more purchasing can be done. So here we have the various direct marketing channels which are used by majority of the companies like direct mail, catalog marketing, telemarketing and other direct response channels. So these are the different methods which are used by the various companies to reach the customers directly, which come into the category of direct marketing channel. So direct mail is one type of direct marketing channel. Mail marketing means sending an offer, announcement, reminder, etc. to an individual customer by using mailing list. So here we are not talking about an electronic mail, but we are talking about a physical mail. So this refers to a type of direct marketing that is delivered physically to the prospect's mailbox, that is a letter box, through postal service or any other delivery service. So here when the company is trying to inform the customer about the product, service or promotional schemes, or trying to give the reminder to the customer with the help of postcards or flyers or catalogs, that is referred as direct mail. So here we are talking about the physical correspondence which is sent by the company to the customer in order to generate the business, that is referred as direct mail. And email marketing is the digital form of the direct mail marketing. So here the company is using using the letters or the foldouts. Foldouts is nothing but here you can see in the slide that it is an oversized page which is folded once, twice or more times. So in this kind of fold out, the details about the company or the product or service, whatever the company wants to promote, that those details are there. Then the company may also use CDs and DVDs to inform the customers about its new products and services. Now the main advantage of direct mail is it allows the target market selectivity. Now here, say for example, if LIC is launching any new policy, then in that situation what LIC can do is it can have the database of the customers, and from those customers it can identify the specific target market, and the company can inform the customers by sending the letters, that is sales letters or the flyers or the foldouts, and send all these details via these things only to the selective target market. So this is the main advantage. Then it is personalized and flexible in terms of that whatever the information the company wants to include, it can include. Like if the company wants to send a direct mail only for informing about the promotional scheme, then it can design that way. So that is into the hands of the company, and it is personalized because it is having the option of selecting it and sending to only a particular group of customers. Then the main disadvantage is stuffed mailbox. Now, as many companies are sending lot of this kind of material like leaflets or letters or foldouts to the customers, what happens is the mailbox, that is the letter box of the customer, becomes overfull, and because of this the customer may ignore and may not go through this kind of the sales letters or whatever material the company has sent. So because of this, the effectiveness of this kind of campaign is doubtful. Here, when the company is constructing an effective direct mail campaign, the following factors should be taken into consideration. The first factor is establishing the objective. Now, most of the direct marketers aim to receive an order from the potential customers, and from that order, they are trying to judge the campaign success. So, here the main goal of the company is to receive the orders, and on the basis of this response rate, they are checking that whether the campaign which they are running with the help of this direct mail, whether it is successful or not. Now here an order response rate of generally 2 to 4% is considered to be of a good ratio, although this number may also depend on other factors like product category, price, nature of the campaign or the offering which the marketer is providing. So again it may vary. It's not necessary that always it will have 2 to 4%. It may have less than 2 and it may have more than 4. Further, direct mail can also produce the leads, that is the inquiry or the database can be generated. The company can inform the customers about the new product or the service, or about some sort of modification which the company has made in the existing product, and educate the customers and remind the customers about the offers. So these can also be the objectives of the company. The second factor is selecting the target market and prospects. Now, because the company may not design a particular offering for the entire population, so that is why it is very important to identify the right set of group of customers. So here the company is using the RFM formula. RFM stands for recency, frequency, and monetary value. Recency means that how much time has passed since the last purchase of the customer. Then F, the frequency, means that how many times the customer has made the purchase, and monetary value, that means how much the customer has spent since the person has become the customer of that particular product or service. Now say for example a company is offering a leather bag, and for that it wants to identify that which would be the right set of customers. So here the company may take into consideration that it will consider those customers who have purchased before 45 to 90 days. So first it will identify that how many number of customers have purchased before 45 to 90 days. Then frequency, here the company may consider that they will take into consideration those customers who have purchased 4 to 8 times in a particular year. So that database will be collected, and in terms of monetary value they may identify that the customer who has spent 7 to 8,000 since the beginning, they will be considered. So by doing the analysis this way, the company will be identifying the right set of customers, and then the company would be sending the direct mail only to these group of customers. Further, what the company can do is the company can assign various points to the customers on the basis of RFM level, and the customer who scores the maximum points is regarded as the most attractive customer. Apart from this, the company can also identify the prospects on the basis of different demographic variables like age, gender, income, occupation, lifestyle, because the needs and wants of the customer also depends on these particular factors. The company's best prospects are generally those customers who have purchased its products maximum times in the past. Also, the company can purchase the list of the database or the names of the customers from the various brokers. So these are the brokers who provide the database of the customers, wherein the name, contact details, email address, all these details are provided. But the main drawback of purchasing this kind of database is many times the wrong names would be there, or duplication may be there, or the data would be incomplete, or the address may not be appropriate. So this is a risk which might be there if the data is collected from some third party. So what the company can do is they can themselves build their own database with the help of providing the toll free number in the promotional offer, and they themselves can collect the response when the customer is giving any telephonic call and trying to take the inquiry. So this will avoid or overcome all the problems which were occurring when they were purchasing the database from the list brokers. The next is develop offer elements. The offer strategy actually includes 5 elements: the product, the offer, the medium, the distribution method, and creative strategy. So here the company needs to identify about the product which it will be selecting for informing the customers via this particular channel. Then the offer, that is what type of benefit they'll be offering to the customers in terms of discounts or schemes. The medium through which they'll be informing to the customers, that is whether it would be television or newspaper or radio, how they'll be informing the customers. The distribution method about the product or service, like whether they'll be distributing the product with the help of retailers, or with the help of online method, or with the help of personal selling. And creative strategy. So creative strategy talks about the designing and making the offer more and more attractive. So this decision needs to be taken under the offer elements. The direct mail marketer must also choose the 5 components if the company is sending the physical correspondence. So the company must take the decision that what kind of outside envelope it would be using, then what would be the sales letter, what would be the content of that letter, then whether the company will be including the reply form or reply envelope or not. So these things should be decided, and many times after sending this kind of physical correspondence to the customers, the company is taking a follow up with the help of email. The next is test elements and measuring the success of the campaign. So here it becomes easy for the company to test and measure the success. That means the company can check here the level of awareness, the intention to buy, and the word of mouth publicity after implementing this direct mail campaign. So the company can always contact the customers after sending this kind of sales letters or flyers, and they can check that whether the customer awareness has increased or not. Then the company can ask the questions or interview them and try to ask that what is their intention to purchase the product in future, what is the intention, what is their willingness to recommend the products to others, then their word of mouth publicity, whether it is positive or negative. So these things can be tested, and the company can also measure the success of the campaign by doing the comparison of the cost and the profitability. The next is catalog marketing. Now, catalog means it is a kind of book or brochure which contains a list of all the products, in which the details of the products are there, about the feature, the photographs, all these things are listed in a particular catalog. So this kind of catalog marketing is common in the apparel industry, in the jewelry, in paint industry, and even in furniture. There catalog marketing is very common. That means when the customer is going, say for example, into a furniture store, then they will first show the catalog. On the basis of the catalog, the customer will be doing the selection, and thereafter thereafter the retailer will be presenting the customer with the product. Under that we have full line merchandise catalog, specialty consumer catalogs, business catalogs which are sent to the customers, which can be in both the forms, in the printed form as well as in the online. That means the company can put the e-catalog on its own website, or the company can also give this kind of catalog in the form of CDs to the customers. Full line merchandise catalog refers to those kind of catalog wherein it comprises of different types of product categories. Specialty consumer catalog comprises of those catalogs wherein it focuses only onto a particular group of products, like only jewelry or only furniture or only apparels. And business catalog which deals with the B2B market. Then many sellers combine websites with the catalog. So many companies are having their own website, and on their own website they can place the e-catalog. On in that e-catalog they can provide the toll-free number. The customer can go through the entire catalog, and in case of any query, then they can always dial that toll-free number, and then they can get the response to all their questions. Some of the companies which are having e-catalog on their websites are futurebazaar.com, India Mart, Home Shop 18, Foolwala. India Mart particularly for B2B market. Apart from that, even Hometown, Pantaloon, Sales India. So these are the companies, those who are placing their e-catalog on the website and trying to educate and inform the customers about their various products and services. Then the success of a catalog business depends on managing the customer list carefully without having any sort of duplication, offering good quality of the merchandise, also offering the written policies, and projecting a distinctive image into the mind of the customer about their products or services. Further, as I said, they can also provide a telephone hotline number to answer all their questions. They can send some sort of gifts, or they can send the hard copy of the catalog to the customers if the customer is requesting. So these things can be done, and putting this kind of catalog online also provides the marketer with a better access to the global consumers, and this way the company can increase their reach and the coverage and even the sales and the revenue, and also the company can save their cost of printing and mailing. The next channel under direct marketing is telemarketing. Now, telemarketing refers to the use of telephone and call centers to attract the prospective customers, to sell to the existing customers, and provide the service by taking orders and answering questions. So whenever the company is using telephone in order to solve some sort of problems, or to inform the customers about the new product or the service, or to convince the customers, that is referred as telemarketing. This concept is common in banks for selling credit cards or for loans. Then it's common in insurance industry, and even educational institutes who are running short term courses, they are also trying to reach the customers with the help of telemarketing. Now here there are two types of telemarketing. One is inbound telemarketing and the other one is outbound. Inbound refers to receiving the calls from the customer. So when the customers are having any sort of query or the problem, then if they are trying to reach the customer with the help of toll free number or the number which is provided by the company, and when we are calling and their employees are receiving the calls and they are answering to our questions, that is referred as inbound telemarketing. So receiving the calls from the customers in order to solve their problem or the query, that is inbound telemarketing. And outbound telemarketing is if the company is giving, suppose if you receive any call from some company which wants to sell credit card, or they are offering you loan, then that is referred as outbound telemarketing. The objective of outbound telemarketing is to convince the customer and to generate the business, and the objective of inbound telemarketing is to provide customer service to the customers. Then in India we have the restrictions by the government for the use of telemarketing. So here in India we have this TRAI, that is the Telecom Regulatory Authority of India, which has launched the DND registration, that is do not disturb registration, which is also referred as NDNC, that is National Do Not Call Registry, wherein if the customer gets registered to this particular thing, then the customer will not be able to receive this kind of unwanted calls, because nowadays a lot of companies are using this kind of telemarketing. So the main disadvantage is the customer gets disturbed and the customer is annoyed and irritated. So many times without receiving the call, the moment the customer sees unknown number, or if they have that perception that this would be the call from the credit card company or from the bank for offering loan, then the customer is having lot of resistance even to receive the call. So that is why the customer gets himself or herself registered to through DND, and which helps the customer or which stops from receiving this kind of unwanted calls and even unwanted SMSs. Then the effectiveness of telemarketing totally depends on having the right team of the telemarketers. So the company should select the right team wherein some sort of special training is given to these telemarketers, that how to talk to the customers, how to greet, and how to answer their questions. Then to be courteous on the telephone, to have a smile on their face even though they are not visible. So this kind of training is given, and to generate more business, the companies are providing the performance incentives to the telemarketers. So if the telemarketers are able to generate some sort of business, then special incentive is also given to them. So this is done to motivate and generate more business and revenue. So this was all about telemarketing. Some of the other medias which are used for direct response marketing are newspaper, magazines, radio ads, and home shopping channels. So here the company can give the advertisement in the newspapers and magazines, and along with that the company can also provide the toll-free numbers. Now when the company is providing the toll-free number, then in that situation the company can the customers can always contact with the help of the toll-free number, and this way the direct response can be generated. Apart from that, the company can also insert the small leaflets or the foldouts within the newspapers and magazines, and interested customers can give their feedback by the contact number or the email if mentioned. Then we have the radio ads. The company can prepare a small infomercials kind of advertisement. Infomercials are nothing but it is a small advertisement which is much more informative in nature. So these kind of ads are prepared particularly for the products which are complex in nature and which requires lot of information, and these kind of advertisements can be shown or can be played on the radio, and along with that the toll-free number or the contact number can be mentioned, and even the website can also be introduced to the customers with radio, and the customer can give their response directly by logging on to the website or by getting in touch with the help of the toll-free numbers. Then we have the home shopping channels in India. Here we have the Home Shop 18, wherein the various companies can display and show the demonstration of the products on this particular channels. Apart from that, we have a very famous American company which is referred as Telebrands. So this Telebrand is an American direct response marketing company which is selling various products like home furnishing, then various other equipments which are used for gym and fitness, then skincare products, then some of the cosmetic products on HBN India channel, and customers can view this particular channel and do the shopping. So all these are the different medias through which the direct response can be generated. Then some of the public issues which takes place in the direct marketing is, the first one is irritation. So as I said, that when the customers are receiving our daily mail, that is the brochures or the emails or the SMS or the calls from the various companies, the customer get irritated and they are no longer ready to listen to the companies. Then the second is unfairness, deception and fraud. Now many times, particularly when we talk about homeshop18.com or this Telebrand channel, then whatever the product they are showing, that may not be similar to the exactly whatever the customer is ordering. So when the customer is viewing the a demonstration into the television, it may seem that it's quite attractive, but when the order is given and when they receive, then there would be some sort of difference. That means in terms of product size or color or price. So some of the terms and conditions may not be displayed to the customer. So this is how unfairness or the deception or fraud takes place. Then invasion of privacy. When the customers are purchasing the product with the help of websites, or if the customer is trying to contact to the company, then in this situation the customer's detail like the contact number, the name, address, location, this kind of things can be traced by the company, and the company can share this kind of data with other companies. So this is also one of the biggest disadvantage or the issue which the customers are having into their mind. So interactive marketing, which is also referred as the use of electronic channel. Now this is the newest and fastest growing channels for communicating and selling directly to the customers with the help of electronic medium. So here the internet provides the marketers and consumers with lot of opportunity for lot of interaction and individualization. Whenever the company is using the internet or electronic channel to reach the customers directly, that is referred as interactive marketing. Here the company can make the use of websites or emails or the display ads on the websites, then the pop-ups or sending the SMS to the customers or creating the blogs or online communities or with the help of SEO, that is search engine optimization. So these are the different methods of interactive marketing. Let us have a look on advantages and disadvantages. The companies can send the tailored messages reflecting the special interest of the customer. So the company can prepare the customized message particularly for a specific group of customers, and the company can send those messages only to the targeted group of customers with the help of emails or SMSs. So here this is one of the main advantage. Then it is very easy to track the response. So company can do use variety of method, like company can use online communities, company can prepare the blogs and do the advertising, the company can place the banner ads. So this way the company can do the experimentation, and depending on the response the company can identify that which is the most effective method of interactive marketing. So that suppose if the company is able to identify that the full to reach maximum number of customers with the help of display ads, then in future the company would be focusing more on preparing the display ads. So that way the company can track the response. The next is contextual ad placement is possible. The company can buy the space on the different website, and the company can do the marketing of their own offering or the product or service on the space which is purchased. So contextual placement refers to buying the ads on the other website which is related to that particular company. So many times if you open your FB page, you might be able to find the advertisement of other products or services. So that is referred as contextual ad placement. Many times when we are opening different apps, then in that also many times there are some pop-ups or some of the ads come out. So that is the example of contextual ad placement. Even on Flipkart and Amazon also you might be able to find different types of companies who are doing this way the advertisement. Then search engine advertising is possible. The company can prepare some sort of keywords, and depending on the keywords the company can do the usage and go for search engine optimization, so that whenever the customer is using those keywords, then the company is able to present their products or services to the customers. This is very common even in educational industry also. Then the consumers, the main disadvantage is the consumers can screen out most of the messages or bogus clicks are generated. Now whenever we see any type of pop-ups or any type of advertisement or small video when it comes when we are logging onto the website, or when we are watching something on the YouTube, then many times we are ignoring or screening out this kind of messages. So again, whether the advertisement is effective or not, or to what extent the customer is taking the interest, or many times we are clicking on the advertisement but we are not going in detail. So here the effectiveness of these mediums or the methods which are used, that is questionable. So these are the various options which are used for interactive marketing. The first is the website. Every company can prepare an attractive website for promoting its product or service. On the website, the company can include all the detail like the products, the services, the price, the photographs. So all these things should be there on the website, and the website should be created in such an interesting manner that it should encourage more and more visitors to visit the website. Majority of the times, the customers they try to identify that whether the website is able to download the things quickly or not, or whether the language which is used, that is easy or not, the website is attractive or not, the font size is visible or not, then the color. So these things are used by the customers to evaluate the design of the website. Some of the companies, research companies like AC Nielsen, they also do the analysis. That means they track the various websites and they try to identify that how many number of people are viewing the websites per day, how much much time they are spending on which particular page, what is the length of visit. So this kind of analysis can be done to identify the effectiveness of the websites. Then within website we have microsites. Microsites are nothing but they are the supplement to primary site. These are the microsites are the small website which are prepared within the main website. Like when we had the Agreem event, then we had prepared a small microsite of Agreem which was supplemented to the main website of rbi.edu.in. So that is the meaning of microsite. Another example I will give you, that if the company which is selling consumer durable products, if it is having its own website of consumer durable, then within that it can also Bajaj Finance can also ask the company to prepare their own microsite, because the customers who will be purchasing consumer durable products, they may also look for the finance options. Similarly, a company which is selling car, on their own website they can place the microsite of the insurance companies. So this is how the microsite is quite helpful and even cost effective. And the companies can find the same group of target market which is looking for both the different types of products. So a company can have the microsite for different product also, and two different companies can also jointly get the microsite attached to the main website. Like I give you the example of this consumer durable and the car company. Then we have the search ads. Search ads are nothing but it is a paid search. Now search advertising is a method of placing an online advertisement on the web pages that show the result from the search engine queries. Now many times the customers are searching on Google or Yahoo or Bing, and on the basis of the keywords which the customer is searching, there are certain results which are displayed. So these results are displayed on the basis of the search keywords which are used by the customers, and the algorithm which is used by the advertisers for preparing that particular website. So that is why it is very important to identify the right keywords and to place these keywords on the website or the published material which will be displayed in the advertisement. So this kind of advertisements are targeted to match the key search words entered by the customers on search engine, and many times the advertisers pay only if the people click on these particular links, and the average click which is generated is about 2%, which is very less, but this is the actual you can say figure which is generated. Then like I'll give you the example that suppose if you are searching that the best digital marketing course in Ahmedabad, so all the institutes which might be using these keywords in their websites, only those results would be displayed when the customer is searching for best digital marketing course in Ahmedabad. So this is one example of search ads, that is which is also referred as pay per click. Under the search ads we also have the concept of SEO, that is search engine optimization. Now search ads we are talking about the paid ones, and SEO is the unpaid one. So the company can also generate the organic traffic with the help of search engine optimization, which is unpaid. So here we are not talking about the paid traffic, but we are talking about the unpaid traffic. So this can be generated when the company is having the practice of increasing the quality and quantity of the traffic to the website by preparing the content in a much more effective manner. So that was SEO. Then we have display ads, which is also referred as banner ads. So here in this slide you can see that on the website of Yahoo there is a banner ad of Fast Track. So this kind of rectangular ads, rectangular boxes which are containing the text and sometimes a picture of the company, which are placed on another relevant websites, are also referred as display ads or banner ads. This kind of banner ads are also seen on FB or Flipkart or Amazon. Then under that we have interstitials, which is also referred as pop-ups. Now this is very common, like whenever we are logging on to any particular website and when we are changing from one to another, then there is some sort of pop-up which comes up immediately, or many times when we are watching any type of movie or any video on YouTube, then there is some animation which automatically starts without our prior permission. So interstitials are the advertisements, often with the video or animation, which pop up between the changes on a website. Majority of the time the customers find it very annoying and distracting. So that is why the customers are using many softwares to block this kind of pop-ups. Moreover, talking about the banner ads, the percentage of clicking on this kind of banner ads is only 0.25%. So that is why the effectiveness of such kind of display ads is again questionable. So this method should be used in combination with other methods of communication. Talking about email, email allows the marketers to inform and communicate with the customers. Here, the company is having the option to send an email only to the selective group of customers, depending on the target market. With the help of email, the company can inform the customers about the products, about the different promotional schemes, educate them about the description of the product in detail. The company can also attach an e-catalog along with the description of the email. The companies, while drafting an email, they should take into consideration that emails must be timely. It should be targeted to a specific group of customers, and the information, whatever it is giving with the help of email, it should be relevant. The main disadvantage of email is when the customer is sending the email to more group of customers, the possibility of going into spam folder increases. So when the emails is received into the spam folder of the customer, in that situation the customer may not be able to open that particular email, and here in this situation the company may not be able to reach the targeted group of customers. So that care should be taken. Then the next is mobile marketing. Now these days lot of companies are using this mobile marketing. So when the company is sending a text message to the mobiles of the customers and informing the customers about the various products or promotional scheme and motivating them to do the purchase, that comes under the mobile marketing. That means sending the SMSs to the customers. Lot of sectors which come into this category, or companies who are using mobile marketing, maybe banks and financial firms, then retail stores, educational institutes, online retailers, even universities, transportation companies, and many other firms are using this mobile marketing. The companies can personalize and send the SMS to the selective group of customers, which depends on the basis of the past purchase and also on the basis of demographic variables like age, income, gender, and all those things. Then in the mobile marketing, because these days a lot of customers are using smartphones, so the companies are having to place the advertisement into various apps. So when we are using different types of apps, somewhere in the middle we find the advertisement of various companies. So this kind of advertisement has increased these days. Plus in smartphones we also have the facility of this GPS. So by tracing the location of the receptive customers who have opted to receive the communication, the retailers can send them the location specific promotions when they are into the nearby area to that particular retail store. Plus the GPS data and the location tracing technology in mobile telephone networks has also made it possible to the targeted customers with the location specific advertising on their mobile. So whenever we are nearby to any particular retail store or petrol pump, then and if we have this GPS facility, then we get messages or information pertaining to the nearby retail stores or whatever thing is available nearby. So GPS is able to trace the various location, and the customers are also using for tracing the locations by using the GPS. Whatever communication the company is doing with the help of mobile or SMS, the company should take into consideration that the company should be able to design the message in a much more simpler and clear language, so that the customer is able to understand the message in a much more precise manner. Further, one point I would like to add up into email, that if the company wants to increase the value of the emails, then the company should try to personalize the content to the email. The company should avoid to send the emails to the large group of customers. Then the company should try to offer something meaningful and useful, so that the customer is taking that email seriously and trying to give the response with the help of email. Then the company should also provide the option of unsubscribing, so that if the customer is not wishing to receive any kind of email in future, then the customer can unsubscribe from that email. Then the company should not only rely on email, but the company should try to combine it with other medias of communication. So these were all the different options which come into the category of interactive marketing. In the previous slide we studied about the website. So here are the 7 key design elements of effective websites, which are also referred as 7 C's. C stands for components. So these are the 7 components which should be taken into consideration while designing a particular website. So the first is context. Context is nothing but the layout and design. The company should be able to design its website in such a way that it is attractive. It should be easy to read. It should be easy for the customers to navigate easily from one page to another. Too much of information should not be loaded on one particular page. The design should be attractive and motivating for the customer to surf more and more on that particular page, and it should be simple to understand. The second is content. Content talks about the text, pictures, sound, videos which are used in the websites. Along with that, all the web pages which are used in the website should be relevant and it should update continuously. Then the third is community. Community talks about that how the website is enabling user to user communication. That means how the website is able to reach the customers with the help of messages and live chat. So the objective is to reach the customers or the community or the target group of customers. Then we have customization. Customization refers to the ability to personalize the website. Like in on many websites there is an option of my account, or on Amazon we have the option of wish list. Like whatever products we are choosing, we can put into that particular wish list. So that is an example of customization, or the ability of providing the option to change the language of the website. That is also the part of customization. So these options should be made available by a particular website developer. The next is communication. This refers to the two-way communication through email, survey, live chat with the company representatives. So here the company is trying to create a special effort for the customers with the help of newsletters or having a survey or context. The basic objective is to have a two-way communication, that is the communication of the website to the user, user to website, and both ways. Then we have connection. Connection refers to the degree that the site is linked to other sites. So many times the company is providing its own URL on the other website. Like a company which is selling let's say home loan, bank which is selling home loan, then it can provide its own link on the website of the any real estate company. So this way, if any particular customer is going or surfing through that particular real estate website, then they can be diverted to that particular loan website as well. So that is the meaning of the connection. Then we have commerce. Commerce talks about the capabilities of the website to enable the commercial transactions. So here the company or the website should have the secure checkout option, and the various options should be provided for doing the payment, and the website should also protect the customer's confidential information as well as the privacy. So these were the 7 C's for developing an effective website. So these are some of the examples of pop-ups and sponsored ads. Sponsored ads are those which are promoted on other websites. The next part of the chapter is word of mouth, and the abbreviation is WOM. Now word of mouth is the natural way of promoting the product or service to the other customers. It is an unpaid form of communication or promotion. Here the customers are sharing their experiences or the information about the product or services, or their reviews to other customers after using a particular product or service, and word of mouth is quite effective as well. Now these are the various methods where the word of mouth publicity can be done. So it can be done with the help of social media, with the help of buzz and viral marketing, and with the help of opinion leaders. So let us first understand that how word of mouth publicity is done with the help of social media. Under social media there are 3 platforms. The first is online communities and forums, the second is blogs, and third is social network. So when I talk about online communities, it is a virtual community whose members interact with each other with the help of internet. People who wish to become the members of such online communities, they have to become first the member by doing the registration on a specific site, and then they can get the access to the specific content. Here the people can communicate with the help of chat rooms or forums or online discussion site, etc. Plus these kind of online community sites can be created by the consumers or the groups of consumers with no commercial interest or any sort of company affiliation. Apart from that, the companies can also create their own communities, and then they can ask the other members to join and have the discussion. Like Wikipedia Village Pump is a kind of forum which is used to discuss the improvement to the Wikipedia. Forum is nothing but it is one kind of online community only which is meant for specific products. products. Some other examples I'll be giving you that for cars there is a forum or a small online community which is referred as Team BHP. So the if any customer wants to purchase car, then they can log on to this particular online community, and all the information about the new cars, used cars, all this information is available. So it also serves as a guide for the customers who want to purchase car. Similarly, for technological products, there is an forum which is referred as Tech Enclave and Tech Arena. So here all the information pertaining to computers, printers, smartphones, so this kind of technological products information is available. Similarly, there is an Indian real estate forum wherein the information about the real estate is available. So these are the various functions which are performed by forums. Then we have blogs. Blogs are nothing but they are regularly updated online journals or diaries, and they also form one part of word of mouth publicity. It is also a discussion site, generally of a small group, and often covers a single subject only. So blog website is updated continuously with lot of posts which are short and informal in nature. Updates can be done daily, weekly or monthly. Hence the reader are also asked to give the comments and asked the questions on various posts. So this way the customers are engaged with the company. The next we have the social networks. Nowadays the companies are putting lot of the advertisement and posts using various social networking sites like Twitter or FB or YouTube, and the customers are also posting their own comments and reviews on the same social networking site. So this way the companies are using social networking sites to reach the huge and well defined audience. Then social media allows the consumers to become engaged with a brand, perhaps a deeper and broader level than ever before. So social media is used widely for doing various types of promotion, not only by the company but even the customers are using for doing word of mouth publicity. The another method of doing word of mouth publicity is buzz and viral marketing. Now buzz marketing is nothing but when the company is trying to create a lot of buzz or hype about a particular product or service into the market by carrying out some unusual activity or by organizing some sort of events which is very catchy in nature. That is referred as buzz marketing. The goal is that maximum number of people should be talking about their own product or service, or maximum word of mouth publicity should be generated into the market. Buzz marketing can be done with the help of social media, or I'll give you the example of Vodafone. When it started using the character of Zuzu, then lot of buzz was created about Vodafone into the market. The company can also organize various types of unusual events wherein it can reach majority of the people, and everybody starts talking about that particular company. The company can also use some sort of catchy slogans or taglines, or company can create a suspense in the advertising. The company can do guerrilla marketing action. The company can use certain mascots or characters which are very unusual, and it generates the buzz. Another type of buzz marketing is viral marketing, which is also referred as word of mouth. So word of mouth or viral marketing encourages the consumers to pass along the company developed products and services, or audio or video or written information to other customers with the help of online platforms. So whenever the customers are sharing any sort of information online with the help of internet on social media, or posting some sort of reviews on their own FB or YouTube account, that is referred as viral marketing. So whenever the customers are using online platform for sharing the reviews, that means viral marketing, and we say that the message is going viral, so that online platform is referred as viral marketing. The success of this kind of buzz campaign also depends on the willingness of the consumers to talk to other customers. So the more the customers are sharing the information, the more is the success of a particular company, taking an assumption that the customers are sharing the positive reviews. Then we have the concept of opinion leaders. Opinion leaders also help to create a lot of word of mouth marketing. Opinion leaders are those individuals who have a very strong influence over others, and at the same time they have in-depth knowledge about a particular product or service. So these are the people who influence others and motivate others to purchase a particular company's products or services. There are three types of opinion leaders. Like the first are mavens. Mavens are those people who are knowledgeable and they have an idea about the big and small things. The second are the connectors. These are the people who know and communicate with great number of other people. And third are the salesmen. Salesmen again, those who belong to the company, and whose basic task is to convince and motivate the customers, and those who are also well trained and having in-depth knowledge about a product or service. So opinion leaders also help to create a lot of word of mouth marketing, and they help to promote the company's product or services into the entire market. So this was all about the word of mouth marketing. So the last part of the chapter is personal selling. So here we have the major steps which take place in personal selling. So let us first understand what is the meaning of personal selling. So personal selling occurs when a sales representative meets with the potential client for the purpose of selling a particular product or service. So personal selling is also known as face-to-face selling, in which a salesperson is trying to convince the customer to purchase a product or service. So whenever there is any personal interaction between a buyer and seller, wherein the seller is trying to convince the product for purchasing the product or service, so that concept is referred as personal selling. Personal selling is an art as well as it is science, and there are various techniques which are used by a particular salesperson in order to sell the product to the customer, and various types of training programs are conducted by the companies in order to teach effective selling to the salesperson. Some of the sectors wherein personal selling is common is in consumer durable product. Personal selling becomes very important for selling insurance products. The role of salesperson is very important in B2B market. It's very important, and even in automobile companies. So these are some of the sectors where majority of the sales takes place because of the efforts which are made by the different types of salesperson. So let us have a look on these 6 steps which are there in the effective selling. So the first is prospecting and qualifying. So the meaning of the word prospect is potential customer. Potential customers are those customers who are having 3 basic attributes: money, authority, and need. So if the company wants to sell its product with the help of salesperson, the first important thing is it should have the list of the potential customers. So the first step is to of the salesperson is to identify and qualify the prospects or the potential customers. There are different sources which are used by the companies, first of all, for having the list of prospects, or in simple terms I can say leads or database. So the companies can rely on the directories or on the network of the salesperson, or the companies can have the inquiries which are generated through the websites or through the toll free numbers, or the companies can also ask the existing customers to give the names of the referrals who can be contacted with the help of the salesperson. So these are the different methods of identifying the prospects. Once the company is having a database of, let's say, 100 people, then it is not necessary that all 100 people would be purchasing the product. So the main task of the salesperson is to qualify or the filter leads. So assuming that the company is having a database of 100 people, then the salesperson, with the help of the telemarketing team, they can do the bifurcation or they can do the filtration of those prospects. So that concept is referred as qualifying the prospects. So qualifying is nothing but identifying the right set of customers, or filtering the customers by asking them several questions or contacting them telephonically. So after qualifying the customers can be bifurcated or classified into hot prospects or warm prospects. Hot prospects are those customers wherein the need or the interest level for purchasing a particular product is very high, and financially also they are very sound. So these customers are referred as hot prospects. The probability of converting these hot prospects into the customers becomes very easy, because the need is also very high, and they are financially sound. So these customers will purchase a product very easily, and less efforts are required to convince them. Then the other classification is warm prospects. Warm prospects are those clients wherein the level of interest is a bit less as compared to hot prospects, and they are also having a sufficient amount of money, but they are not so very financial sound as compared to the hot prospect. So it requires more efforts by the salesperson to convert the warm prospects into the existing customers. So if these kind of warm prospects are contacted by the salesperson, and if they are shown some sort of benefit or discounts or sales promotion scheme, then in this situation it becomes a bit easy to get the business generated from the warm prospects. Then we have the second you can say step, that is pre-approach. Pre-approach means all the preparation which is done by the salesperson before actually approaching is meeting. So all the different activities which are done by the salesperson before actually meeting the customer, that is referred as pre-approach. So here the salesperson needs to learn as much as possible about the prospect or the potential customer. That means the salesperson must have the maximum information about the customer, that what are the needs, what are the requirements, and if it is a B2C client, then how many family members are there, what is the location, what type of business or service the customer is doing, then who are the people who are participating in the purchase decision, then the personal characteristics, the styles of buying, then having the knowledge about the financial status. And if it is a B2B client, then the salesperson should have the knowledge that how many participants are there in the purchasing department, then who is having the authority to take the decision of purchase. So all this knowledge is very important for the salesperson to gather before actually meeting the customer. The more information the salesperson is having, the more confident would be the salesperson. So this way the sales representative must have the thorough understanding of the client, that is who is the client or who is a prospective customer, when to meet him, where to meet him, how to do the presentation, and why it is very important to make the sale, and what are the needs and wants of the customer. So it is very important for the salesperson to have the knowledge of all these things. After finalizing all, or after understanding all these things, the another task is to choose the best contact approach. That means that what are the different options of meeting the customer, whether personal visit is important or not. So if the prospect is of hot type, then in that situation the personal visit will definitely make a difference. If the prospect is not hot prospect, but if it is a warm prospect, then the telemarketing team can first do the telecalling, identify that what is the level of interest, and then ask the sales representative to meet this kind of customer. And if the prospect is not at all interested, then an email or letter can be sent to this type of customers. And finally the salesperson should plan an overall sales strategy for meeting the customer. That means deciding that when they will meet the customer, then what all sort of activities or presentation they will be doing. Then the next step is presentation and demonstration, the most important part of the selling. So here the sales representative is focusing on the presentation and demonstration of the product. So the salesperson focuses on the FABV approach while giving the presentation of the product. FABV stands for features, advantages, benefits, and value. So feature describes the physical characteristics of a particular product. Say for instance, if a salesperson is selling a car to a particular customer, so physical features here, or physical characteristics here, would include the safety feature of the car, the mileage, the design, the anti-lock braking system, defogger or airbag system, then music system, system. So these would be the description of the physical features which will be provided by the salesperson to the customer. Then we have benefits. Benefits describes the economic, technical service which will be provided by the particular product to the customer. Then value describes the offerings worth. That means that making the customer to understand that what is the monetary worth of the particular product. That means that convincing the customer that why that particular person should spend behind purchasing that product or service. So explaining the worth of the product, that talks about the value. So this was about the presentation and demonstration. The salesperson, along with the presentation and demonstration, should also focus on the creativity aspect of convincing the customer. And this is also this kind of presentation is also referred as pitching a particular product to the prospective client. So pitching is explaining about the particular product or service to the customer. It should be quite relevant, engaging, and compelling. The customer should not get bored, and it should not involve one-way interaction, but it should have the two-way interaction. Then the next is overcoming objections. Objections are nothing but the doubts or the queries which are put by the customer. Now these objections may arise during the presentation and demonstration, and it may arise at the end of the presentation and demonstration. These kind of objections should not be ignored, but they should be handled in a very tricky way, in a very smart way. Now, particularly, there are two types of objections: psychological objections and logical objections. Now, it is very difficult to understand the psychological resistance. So, psychological objections are those which are there into the mind of the customer, which are actually hidden. So, many times the customer is having a psychological resistance. That means the customer may dislike the product, maybe because of some reason, or the customer may have a strong preference for some other competing brand, or the customer have some sort of unpleasant association with that particular product, or the customer may not like the technique of giving the presentation of demo and demonstration of the customer, and that is why the customer is having a wrong association towards that particular product or service also. So these are the different types of psychological resistance. Identifying them is also difficult, and dealing with them is also very very difficult, because it does not have any particular logic, but the customer simply dislikes the product without giving any logical reason. Then the second is logical resistance, which is very very clear. The customer is very clear that why he or she does not have a positive association or positivity towards a particular product or service, or the customer has reasons that why the customer dislikes the product. So those reasons which can come under the logical resistance can be price. That means the customer may feel that the price is very high, or the competitor is providing much more better product as compared to that particular company, or the customer is not convinced with certain type of features. So it becomes very easy for the customer to explain the salesperson that why the customer dislikes the product or service. So dealing with the logical resistance becomes a much more easy for the customer, because for the salesperson, because the salesperson knows the reason of disliking the product or the service. So to handle this kind of objection, the salesperson should always maintain a positive approach. He should never ever criticize the competitor, but always try to focus on this FABB approach, that is features, advantages, benefits and value, and always try to turn the this kind of objections into you can say positive reason for buying. Like suppose if the customer says that the price is very high, then in a very tactical way the salesperson can say that although prices are high, but at the same time the company is focusing on a superior quality of the product, and along with the quality the company is also providing some sort of other services which the others are not providing. So this would be turning an objection into the opportunity for buying the product or service. The salesperson can sometimes also motivate the customers by giving some sort of incentive like discounts or promotional schemes, through which it becomes easy for the salesperson to convince the customer. Then we have closing. Closing is nothing but here asking for the order. So closing signs from the buyer can include the physical actions, like suppose if the customer is selling any product, say for instance if it's a mobile, and if the customer takes the mobile into hands or asks for the demonstration, so by this kind of small signals the salesperson can identify that the customer is taking some sort of interest in the product. Then by certain statements or comments also the salesperson can identify that whether the customer is interested in buying or not. Like if the customer is asking the question about the discount or about some sort of features or the benefits of the product, or if the company is providing some sort of let's say a promotional scheme, and if the customer is asking that till what time the scheme is valid. So from all these questions a smart salesperson can at least identify that yes, my customer is interested in purchasing the product or service. So representatives can ask for the order by different techniques, like majority of the times a very indirect technique is used by the salesperson for asking the order. Many salesperson do not ask directly. That means because they have that perception that if the customer will say no, then what. So that is why they are using different indirect techniques. Like the customer may give the salesperson may give two options to the customer, that which model is much more better, model X or model Y. Or suppose if the salesperson is selling insurance policy, then in a very indirect method the salesperson can ask the customer that should I should I take this person as the nominee for this kind of policy, or should I write down the amount of 10,000 in the check, or by simply putting the form in front of the customer and asking that these are the places where the signature needs to be done. So this way the salesperson can assume and give the choices to the customers, and depending on the response of the customer, the salesperson can identify that whether the customer will be purchasing immediately, or the customer will be purchasing after a certain period of time. So these were the different techniques of closing. Not only this, but even the salesperson can also ask the customer to make some minor choices, that which color of product would you like. That suppose if you are purchasing a car, then would you like to purchase red color or black color. So by these things, by the response to these questions, the salesperson can identify. And along with this, some of the other benefits like additional service or extra quantity, or in order to induce the customers to purchase immediately, they can say that this kind of scheme is valid only for this particular month only, or it is only for special customers. So this kind of techniques are used. Then the last one is follow up and maintenance. Once the order has been done, then after that it's very important for every salesperson to do the follow up, and which is generally avoided by few salesperson, and but it plays a very important role in customer satisfaction. So once the customer has given the order, and once the product has reached at customer's place, then it's very important for every salesperson to take the follow up, simply by asking that whatever product you had ordered, whether you have received the same or not, asking for the installation, that whether the product has been installed properly or not, and are you facing any kind of problem or servicing. So this kind of things can be taken care of, particularly in the follow up and maintenance. The objective is to make an assurance to the buyer that he has made the right choice, and again the other goal is customer satisfaction and maintaining good relations with the existing customers, because if the customer is satisfied, then the same customer will spread a positive word of mouth. He will give the company or the salesperson much more references, and good relationship will be built between the company and the customer. So this was all about the personal selling, and here we complete the entire chapter. Thank you.